that asher etzem ha'esek masamatin shelo, right? Not only do you profit more times to learn when you give yourself a job and you basically you have a clean heart because you're not stressing about parnasa, so the working itself is useful because it gives you times where you won't be stressful and you can learn. Over and above that, the actual business time, the time you're spending seemingly on the mundane things, kasher l'shem shamayim, see in the parentheses there, when it's the same shamayim who could the boy, right? And it's done properly with this intention of doing it for holy purpose. You're on your mission. Therefore, guess what? Then that will make it that you will automatically be careful about taking advantage of something. Oh no, gezel, theft, mirma, trickery, sheker, lying. Oh, wow. You're not going to lie, right? If I'm busy doing a job to all day long so I can mamash give money to a yeshiva, and that's my purpose of my being there, well, I'm going to start stealing? It doesn't make sense. Like your proper intention will also preserve you from falling in the midst of and by the way, the business world is scary. It's easy to steal. It's easy, you're trying to make money. So you're like, I'll take a little bit more. But you won't do that if the whole reason you're trying to make money is to give it to a good cause, right? Like, well, it's called a mitzvah shabbat al yidei avera. You're not going to do a mitzvah through a sin. It's like, it's almost like you're protected automatically.
Like Robin Hood or something.
Right, I mean that's already in a somewhat noble, but yeah, and it's clearly a goyish idea, right? Because a yid, if he's busy doing something good, he's not going to suddenly steal for that. That's like mamash. It's not a Jewish thing to do.
And it doesn't make sense. I'm giving it a charity. Why would I?
It's like you do see this sometimes though. I'll tell you, but where do you see it? A yid, he sneaks into the mikveh. Right? Yeah. You see that? I'll pay later. You know what I'm saying? Because it's, again, you're not going to the mikveh for the right reasons either. Like, who knows what's going on? But it can happen. But essentially, if your intentions are proper, you shouldn't really be in a state of falling outside the lines of what's kosher and healthy. There are yedua. It's known, Asher Kol Eilas Sonei Hashem. All these things, trickery and theft and so forth, all these things Hashem hates. While you're busy doing something godly, how are you going to be busy doing something Hashem hates, right? It's not where you are. Another positive quality that comes from doing things l'shem shamayim is that you're going to do things with like the proper bitachon, right? Since you know I'm basically Hashem, I'm just doing your work. Right? So I don't have to like put extra effort into doing things and worrying about the outcome. When anyway, it's your yeshiva I'm trying to support. You need some hands and feet. I'll give you mine. But like, I'm going to also worry? Of course not. You're the balabais of the whole world. So it also brings out in you, when you have this proper kavanah, the amuna pashuta, the simple faith in a Jew, which is fixed in everybody's heart, that it's the blessing of Hashem which makes a person rich, not my own actions and, like the strength of my own hand, as they say. And you know that when is Hashem going to bless something? When it's kosher, right? When you're not doing anything evil inside of your business things, because you're not a fool. You know that if you're going to try and sneak around, Hashem's not going to bless it. So the whole like intention in your mundane activities cleans up your mundane activities. It makes them, they're squeaky clean from theft and so forth. It also allows this like beautiful faith of a Jew that he knows that basically Hashem's running the world, and he will be blessed because he's not putting his effort and emphasis on how to make more money. He's putting in his emphasis and effort on making sure that it's kosher and he's not taking a penny from anybody. That's where his interest is because he knows that's where the blessing comes from. So it's just like, it's a whole beautiful picture when your intentions are proper. And it actually makes the act of mundane activities holy. So that was business. But the same is true with all of his other matters. Let's say eating and drinking, achilu v'shtiya. That it should also be the shem shamayim, right? This is a very big issue. A person can turn this around. Like we talked about last night in the Farbrengen. It seems hard, right? Like you come into a place and there's like cakes and cheesecakes on the table. You're just like, I gotta have it all, right? But not necessarily. It's like just a decision. I can get out of bed. Baruch Hashem, everyone got out of bed today. Because we spoke about it for a second last night. You're like, yeah, what? It's not rocket science. All I gotta do is get up, right? So the same thing when it comes to eating and drinking. You can do it l'shem shamayim. It sounds like some crazy thing that's very far from you. It's not. What do you need to eat for? Lavros gufo. to make your body healthy. That's why there is such a thing called food. It's not for the delicacies per se. Maybe on Shabbos, right? But you only need food to eat, so you can live. Because you want to learn, you want to daven. You can't. If you're going to get hungry, you're going to get tired, you're going to get weak. You're not going to be able to do the job right. If you're going to eat junky food, you're not going to be able to do the job right. You got to basically have a strong body, and that's why you're eating. Again, if you're eating is a mundane activity. You're not in the midst of doing any mitzvahs. It's this level of like af asisav. It's a separated world which looks like an animalistic world, nothing to do with Torah and mitzvahs. But if you're in there with the intention that I'm only here in order to mamish bring Hashem happiness, then even in that place, it's all you're the hay. You're a squeaky clean and you're making it look good. Each lefi mahusov medregaso. Each one according to his level. In other words, there's Mari Torah, Mari Tefillah, Mari Uvdin Tavin, Betzedakah, Glumus Chasadim. So in other words, whatever you're eating for, it's because you're going to champion whatever cause in Torah is your main cause. For example, some people are Torah scholars. Some people are daveners, professional daveners. That's their thing. They mamish go out and just like want to connect with Hashem. Some people are mitzvah doers. They're giving tzedakah, v'adome. Lefarnei sanim, they want to feed the poor, right? So whatever it is, that's what they're eating for, so they can have strength to do that thing. Or they want to support yeshivas, they want to give money to support bachrim. Begufo, mamono, whether maybe they want to clean the shul, someone wants to take the trash out every once in a while, or put money into the camping trip. When we do this, l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven, that's why you're doing your activities. It's that simple. Then it comes out that the actual deed is going to be kosher. If your intention, you're going in, is for the right reason, you're going to guard yourself from all types of negativity. For example, we talked about the negativity in business. That's like stealing and tricking people. But what about the negativity in eating? Right? Because when you're in the state of achila v'shtia, if you're doing it l'shem shamayim, then automatically what? Nizhar min hamosros. You're going to be careful about overeating. Right? That even in these, so this is excess, right? Hine davar shehu mutarim lo nizhar mem. So in other words, it's not excess in the sense that you're eating tray food. It's talking about simply overeating, right? That it's mutter. You could have it. But if you're there, the shem shamayim, what do I need it for? Right? It's not part of my avodas Hashem. If I'm going to eat that, it's a little bit more than I need in order to be strong. It's actually going to weigh me down. It might slow down my pride. It might fulfill my tithe at this particular moment. But in the long run, it's not for the sake of heaven that I'm eating this, for the sake of myself. Right? Again, these sound like high levels, but they're very attainable. We just had in the Tanya yesterday, right? These things are very close to you. And and it says over there, you don't have to have deep hisbonenus. You don't even have to have light hisbonenus. You have to just bring out the basic Yiddishkeit that came to us from our fathers. Right? If you are doing it l'shem shamayim, you will, even if it's permissible food, you'll be careful about the excess because you're not there to fulfill your desires of your soul. You're there to get the job done, what you need to survive and thrive. And the same is true with any other matter that you're involved with. For example, let's say you're the veker, right? Or you're trying to collect money from other people. That's what it means. A gabbai tzedakah means someone who's a money collector, basically, right? For an institution needs money. It's his job to go and get it from people, which is not always a fun job. Again, you could do it l'shem shamayim, and when you do it l'shem shamayim, the deed will be pure and clean. In other words, you will speak calmly, right? Bekiru vadas, and you'll make the other person understand the importance of the mission. Even though sometimes you have to speak strongly, you just say, time has come, we're moving on, right? And you mamish put your foot down, still. Lamoro is a davar betokef, and you're standing because you're doing something which requires strength and persuasion. She had nice a davar who behider vadome, and you want the thing to be done right. You want class to start at 7:30, right? So you're not a pushover. You got to get it done. But nonetheless, you speak nicely. You speak with like words that make sense because you're in it l'shem shemayim. You're not in it to like mamish put your will on top of another person and be like some kind of a dominant force, which again, we said you can even rob your way into the mikveh, right? Everything has to be done l'shem shemayim, even something which seemingly is a mitzvah type of activity, waking up guys to come to shul in the morning. But if you do it like mamish mean, there's obviously something mixed in there which is not completely l'shem shemayim. But if you're doing l'shem shemayim, in other words, it goes the other way. If my intention is true and I'm doing this l'shem shemayim, automatically I will behave like a mensch. And you'll distance yourself from arrogance to the ultimate extreme. Because you're there not for the external aspect. I want this guy out of bed, right? Because it's like a struggling match with him. No, I'm there for the pnimius of the Inyan. We want Chassidus to be learned, right? It's a mitzvah of Hashem. And all that, everything we just said, that's called the os hey of Kedusha, right? What is the hey? Is that even because you have a dalit, which means because you're bittul and you're doing things for the right reason, then also when you get into a world of separation, i.e. even first of all, the physical world of mitzvahs, and even the physical world which is not strictly mitzvahs, it's all going to be a yud. It's going to be a face-to-face relationship with Hashem, and even your action will be filled with godliness. Any questions on anything we say?
Just a reminder why the dalit is bittul again?
Because the dalit has a yud at the back of it. And the yud represents a connectivity of the dalit to the yesod above it, which means you're always in a constant recognition of where your strength is coming from. You're in the flow, so to speak, not thinking this is all mine, but thinking that this came from God, right? So you're bittul to the reality that all is a flow from the higher realms and from God.
And the reish lacks the yud.
The reish lacks the yud, and therefore we're going to soon see what happens from a dalid, which means you have the bittul, you become a hey, which means you're even able to inject kedusha into a separate realm, right? Which is the left leg of the hey, which is disconnected world of Asiyah. But if you're a reish and you don't have the bittul, then from a reish you make a kuf. And the kuf is that separate left leg. It's not a pretty one. It goes down, her feet go dangling into death. Because basically because your thoughts and speech were not bittul dik, then your actions are very, very dangerous. It now shows that you're going to plant a reed and grow mamish the city of Rome on it, right?
Dalit receives from Gimel.
Right.
They say Dalit's like a pauper in a certain way. He's also very kind, and he receives from Gimel.
Right. Gimel comes to the word gomel. Moshe. I didn't mean Moshe. No, but the Indian is the gimel. Is a gomel, which means a giver. Dalid the word means poor. So the word gimel dalid literally means giving to the poor.
Interesting.
Yeah. So what's that?
You said that if anything has a davar that's not kedusha mixed in, even if it's a davar kedusha, so it makes it automatically it's noita to the tzedakah.
Yeah.
So what about Aaron? Did he have to lie?
Adarabba. Even lying, you can do it sometimes l'shem shemayim. That's the whole story of Yaakov Avinu, right? And Rachel, what were they busy with? You know what I'm saying? Is that they
even if it seems noita to the tzedakah.
I'm saying it has to do with your actual kavanah, right? If your kavanah is correct, then in business sometimes you actually have to lie, right? Like in other words, in a mutter dika way. It's a rare case, but we see, for example, like what's the story? Just run real quick to run through this again. We've discussed it before, but it's an honor to have you in our class. To be honest with you, we talked about the idea that look, it says here mirma, right, is one of the negative traits. But which is like the Indian of like arimus, like it says that the nachash was arum mikol chayas sadeh. It was tricky, right, from all the other animals. But that quality of trickiness, which is basically a quality of the Sitra Achra, and therefore, because that was only used for evil, the snake was able to put the whole world into a state of galus. Yaakov Avinu was called Yaakveni Zepamaim. He tricked me because he was able to take even that shtus and use it for kedusha. So that's the whole point. Like, if your mamish mind is like, look, when the Frierdiker Rebbe goes in and walks into the room of the guy in charge of the decrees in Russia, and he steals the paper that says to kill the Jews, is that called stealing? It's a mitzvah, right? So you can use the and he was like mamash like a spy. He went in there, he hid his identity. All these things would normally be considered conceited and on the wrong side. But if you're the Shem Shemayim, a tzaddik, you can do those very acts, hide up in the garments of Esav, and steal the brachas. L'shem Shemayim. So you can. It's not. There's nothing actually which is, so to speak, off limits. If your kavanah truly is connected with Hashem, you can elevate even the darkest things. Right? So I mean, that's a high level. I mean, it's tzaddik level stuff. But yeah. Now that's all on the side of kedusha. But the os kuf, I'm going to take us about 5 minutes over because I don't want to, but I want you guys to come on time. So this is your punishment. We're going to learn more chassidus.
I'm sorry.
Actually, that's like a great consequence. I'm trying to think, like, what's like a consequence? If you do this, then this. I like that. If you do this, more chassidus.
You really don't want us to like Chassidus, dude.
What's that? Os kuf. What is the os kuf? I got it. So you used a joke for kedusha.
Nice.
Os kuf. Hem machshava dibur maisa dilu umadze. The letter kuf is thought, speech, and action of the other side. It's a nasty letter, right? If improperly used. And how do you make a kuf? From a reish. Os reish hu machshava dibur dilu umadze. The letter reish is just like the daled, right? The top and the right side, but here without the yud, it's the thought and speech of the dark side. So you're having improper thoughts. You're thinking, I'm going to wake this guy up and I'm going to pour water in his head because he took my seat yesterday. In other words, your actions are not done with a holy kavanah, and therefore your speech is going to come out with an unholy kavanah. And ultimately, from the reish, it's going to chas v'shalom turn into a kuf, which means your actions go down below the line.
Does that mean it's going like down to like
Evil.
Sahara? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So like one of them is up, one of them is down.
Well, the yud, the hay, it doesn't allow itself to fall beyond below the line, because it's the shem shemayim. Like we said, you're going to be guarded from theft and from trickery and from overeating and all these things because your intention is correct. It won't, even the action, it won't let itself fall. It stays up above the line.
Wow.
Squeaky clean.
It's interesting because a kuf in Sefer Torah, the way the leg of the kuf is drawn, it's crooked. The daf is supposed to be curved.
The leg,
Wait,
the kana hakuf you're talking about?
Kana hakuf.
Okay.
Once you draw it, it goes curved down.
Okay.
Right, the second you go past the line, it curves off to the wrong way.
To the left also, huh?
Huh?
Curves to the left. When a God forbid a person is filled with foreign thoughts, right? And bad thoughts. By the way, let me point out a little bit. We're rushing a little bit because we started late, but I don't like to rush because every word is gold over here. But there's a difference between machshava zara, foreign thoughts, and hihurim bishin, and bad thoughts. What is machshava zara? The word zara, like the word, for example, avoda zara. What does the word avoda zara mean?
The range.
Foreign service. It doesn't mean idol worship. We call it idol worship because if you're not serving God, you're serving idols. But the actual word zara means foreign. So when you're having machshava zara, it means you're having a foreign thought. It doesn't necessarily mean you're having a bad thought, because that's a second thing. Foreign thoughts or bad thoughts. A foreign thought could be a really sneaky Yetzer Hara, because you could be given two choices in Kedusha. And really, if you ask your mashpiyah, so one of them is the right one. But you're going to come up with reasons and all kinds, and you're going to sit there thinking about all kinds of or maybe I shouldn't do the right thing because my other alternative, which also seems good potentially, and these are called foreign thoughts. And that's also having a head filled with foolishness. If you were truly doing things the same Shemaim, it says, you figure out somehow a way to get your godly soul a proper answer, you'll feel good about it, and you won't have any suffix anymore. When a person is busy with a suffix, and you're busy thinking all day long, should I do this? I'm not sure if I'm in the right place. Maybe I should go. Maybe I should stay. Those are not thoughts of evil, but they're foreign thoughts. And it's mamish, your head is filled with garbage, right? That's not where your mind should be. It's not l'kavan l'shem shamayim. So it's very easy to have your mind out of your control. It's very easy to put it back into control. But it slips out of control without you realizing that you're doing something which is putting you in a bad direction. The kain b'dibori ashelul Hashem heima. Of course, so you have the reish, you have the top and the right side of the reish is words that are not proper. He's saying, lo mi boy dibori masurim. Again, just like we said by eating. We're not talking about eating treif. We're not talking about speaking forbidden words. You're not cursing, right? You're not speaking lashon hara, rechilus, tail bearing. You're not mamish like just running your mouth in horrible ways. You're just stop talking too much, right? What are you doing? People like to talk. You like to, whatever, like just hang around and schmooze, right?
10 cops of speech came down into the world.
Right.
In the Gemara, and women took 9 of them.
And guess what?
There's a man who talks too much.
Okay, so the point is what? Talking too much. I'm saying when it says 9 parts, women have 9 parts. For them, that's not called talking too much. That's their job. But for us, it's called talking because what are you busy with, right? You have to what are you doing there? You're enjoying yourself. That's it. Which is not necessarily a problem, but enjoying yourself. You're overeating. You'll take a little bit what doesn't belong to you. What are you doing there? All I'm saying is you're not there l'shem shamayim. You're there for the sake of yourself, right? You're pleasuring yourself. Sorry, usher, can't pleasure yourself. Not in this world. You have to mamish pleasure Hashem. And so therefore, too much talk, even if you're not saying prohibited things, if it's just in order to enjoy hearing yourself speak, also it's the reish. And God forbid if you get to too much reish, the reish leads to the kuf, which is the deed, right? The leg on the left side, which is disconnected, just like action is in a parallel, disconnected dimension from thought and speech. Remember we said before, thought and speech are like in a continuum. The same letters you speak, you thought first, but action is like its own distinct, separate reality. And so this left leg of the kuf is action. And the fact that it goes down below the line means you fell into negative behavior. This is the idea that the left leg of the kuf goes down. And this is basically bad deeds. It goes lower and lower. This mamish is like a corrupted version of the human being. And how did it get there? Bad deeds don't happen on their own. They happen because you first had negative thoughts and negative speech. Reuben and I were talking yesterday, right? There's a seder to this, right? A person's supposed to get up and daven. That's before he does anything. You're not even allowed to say shalom aleichem to your friend. You have to daven before you do anything. Chassidus, by the way, as far as the Rebbe teaches, it's part of davening. Because you can't, not like this, Reuven, maybe, 100% learning Chassidus before davening is part of davening, because a person cannot daven to Hashem without giving a proper consideration to before whom he stands, right? So this is not actually called Limud Torah, what we're doing right now. It's called Hachana for davening. So the first thing you do is you daven, right? And then what? It says, base Knesses to the base Medrash. Right? Next, you're supposed to learn. You're not supposed to leave davening without learning chitas or something first. You have to learn afterwards, right? Because you have to take that fire from the davening. You have to put it into like osios of kedusha. And then once you're finished learning, it says you can go out on heg behem derech minhag derech eretz. You can go and do business. So basically, it's davening is called thought, Torah is called speech. And then deed, action. And that's how a Jew has to start their day, because your action is a product of your thought and speech. You're not going to just wind up having kosher actions unless you have kosher thought and speech first. And that's what he's saying. How did all of a sudden you get into bad deeds? You have to go trace this thing back to the root, because you were having machshavas oros the whole day. You were thinking foreign thoughts, and therefore you wound up speaking too much. And all of a sudden, look, he's doing it again. We'll hold here. All right.